Elves. When it comes to media, I was always more of a fantasy than sci-fi guy. Don't get me wrong, I loves me some Star Wars and StarCraft, but there's something about the medieval fantasy that just tickles my brain. You can definitely blame Warcraft 1 for that. Warcraft 1 was one of the first forms of media I can remember consuming. Knights, swords, orcs, and blood. Then my parents bought me Ralph Bakshi's Lord of the Rings cartoon, and this movie is weird as shit, like Aragorn being a Native American with a bowl cut and Gimli being 6 feet tall. But man, this was a gnarly movie for a kid to watch. There was a lot of violence and battles. The Helm's Deep scene is still pretty badass, even to this day. So when it comes to fantasy races, I always had an affinity for elves, typically for high or wood elves. I think Legolas alone brought many of us into the elven fold. Something about them always appealed to me. The often regal and professional depiction with shiny gold armor, beautiful long hair, and shooting bows like Navy SEALs. Warhammer High Elves being a bunch of violent and glorious looking dudes, and the elves in Lord of the Rings, both the Noldor in the prologue and the Galadrim at Helm's Deep were just the coolest. Their gear, their skill, their majestic nature being immortal and attuned to magic. This is back before all elves in media just became hot ladies with a bow, with a hood and exposed midriff. Why have a hood and cape to obscure yourself, but then have your tum-tum like a bullseye on your body? I mean, don't get me wrong, elf ladies are, they're pretty cool, but I always like the formations of elven spearmen or archers while mowing down hordes of orcs. It has been a while since I've done a Warcraft challenge, and I was thinking of different ideas. Since I conquered Deathless, I wondered if a singular unit challenge could be fun. The problem is, since Warcraft is a combined arms game with land, sea, and air, it is kind of hard to pick just one unit. I thought at first footmen. They're tier 1, they're cheap, you get them right away, they're kinda crappy, could work. Except there are missions where you need to destroy ships and air units. And footies can't throw their swords.
Get down here!
So how about the Archer? It's a frail unit that shoots up. It can hit ships from the coastline, except there are oil platforms in some level. You could wait for the enemy to drill them out, and they explode, but then how could you catch the tankers? So, I thought of a compromise. Elves. There are tags in this game, sort of. Human, Dwarven, and Elven. So I decided to make my challenge, can I beat Warcraft 2 with Elves only? The Elven tag is on 3 units, Archer, Ranger, and Destroyer. This works perfectly for me. The Archer can take care of the land, and the Destroyer can take care of the sea. Both being low-tier units of their class, both being fairly weak and cheap, and both being able to shoot all targets. So, can you beat Warcraft 2 with Elves only? Sort of. So let's go over the rules I made for myself. Since I just made this challenge up, I decided to try this. Use only Elves for combat and training, so Archers and Destroyers for killing. Support units like peasants, tankers, transports, and flying machines are allowed, otherwise this would be impossible. Do not train any other unit other than Elves and support units. I can use Paladin heals only if I'm given Paladins with heal. So in other words, I cannot build a church and research Paladins. This makes things doable in Beyond the Dark Portal, as there are a couple commando missions where without healing it would be pretty much impossible. Avoid making towers. I eventually am forced to make a tower or two later on, but only for defense. So my British colonialism strategy isn't going to fly here. And only guard towers. Elves don't shoot cannons. An arrow comes out of the tower, so I just imagine that there's an elf inside for my own headcanon and satisfaction. If I start with towers though, those are okay. I cannot attack with any other unit. However, as things go on, I am forced to use humans as meat shields, so their supple bodies take the hits from my pointy-eared beauties. But they cannot attack. If they attack or get a kill, reset. So, let's talk about Warcraft 2 elves for a second. To put simply, they are kinda dog shit. I wonder if they were the result of archers in War 1 being absolutely fucking terrorists, because these archers suck. They are super frail, their initial damage is awful, and their AI is brain damaged. They really struggle to change targets on auto-fire, and a slight breeze turns them into paste. When you go tier 2 though, you get to upgrade them to rangers. This gives them a teeny tiny health boost, but also allows for their advanced upgrades. Marksman gives them +3 damage, longbows give them 1 range, and eyeballs give them eyeballs. This greatly increases their damage outputs and makes them way better than their troll counterparts. And with piercing ignoring most armor, it actually makes them pretty solid. Doesn't help their intelligence or their weak frail bodies though. This means archers will need micro, and until they are rangers, will get kinda wrecked by most stuff. Destroyers on the other hand, they're okay. They can shoot up, which is awesome, and they're shockingly good at subs, kinda like in real life, but their range is a lot shorter than battleships, so they have a hard time controlling the coasts. So, let's get into it. Level 1, Hillsbrad. Nothing to see here. No elves, no need for combat. Limit your peasant production so you don't need a second mine. 2, Ambush at Terran Mill. This is the first time ever that I have played this mission for more than 5 minutes. I was quite taken aback at first. Normally you just A-move your starting army and win, but you have 7 footmen and 2 archers. 2 archers aren't going to get you far, so I actually have to mine in this level and build production. I kill off my footmen to ensure they don't actually get a swing off and to free population. It's a weird level, but I take the left flank to avoid most of the enemies and knock out a piece of wall. You only need to save 2 white archers, so grab them and bring them home. 3. South Shore. This level is one of the examples of why I needed the Elven tag. There is an oil platform that needs to be destroyed in order to place your own, but the enemy doesn't drill in it. So with only archers, it can't be done. So your destroyers solve this problem. Easy mission otherwise, just ration your resources and off you go. Level 4, Attack on Zul'Dare. The good old days. Just like the Deathless run, I micro my 2 ships and fail at the harbor. My skills are deteriorating in my old age. I still sort of colonize their land with some barracks and just pump out archers. I make a couple more ships to help too. 5. Tol Barad. I was challenged by a viewer to do this Deathless with elves. Instead of resetting though, I just got docked points per death. This level I actually lost the barracks. Normally I ship my army to the top of the island and kill the orcs, but this one I decided to go on the inside and use the barracks as a wall. It falls, but that doesn't matter. I won't be using this base. I colonize again, but without towers it's actually kind of tricky. Because I cannot upgrade archer range, it's actually kind of annoying, often dragging my archers into the enemy line of fire. Towers and catapults are really nasty against archers, especially cannon towers. They can punt 4 archers into the Shadow Realm in one shot if their placement is right. Once I get a solid group, I move in and clear out the rest of the enemies, with only 5 casualties. Level 6, Dun Algaz. This is the mission where we finally get rangers. This changes everything. Teching to rangers quickly is pretty crucial now. They are fucking expensive though. In total, to upgrade an archer to max, it costs 7,200 gold and 800 wood. The rest of this level is pretty easy. Just mass up rangers, pick your targets carefully, and win. Level 7, Grim Batal. Now, this is where things get interesting. You start with a small force, not many archers. You are meant to rescue some orc catapults and clear through a cannon blockade and establish a base. 4 archers and 3 peasants is all I can use here. And the enemy has ogres and cannon towers. Ogres take like 3 damage a shot from archers, meaning 19 to 20 arrows will take just 1 down. And they're naked. Level 1 archers are bunk sauce. I need some crafty micro if I'm to succeed. A quirk of the terrain in this game is, other than trees, there is no way to fully block an area off, as in walls themselves against cliffs, or trees to cliffs, always leaves 1 tile gap to walk through. So, we need to deal with ogres who friggin' spank archers so hard. While doing some luring, I notice the enemies tend to focus certain units over others. Just Hail Marying into the checkpoint doesn't work, as there are multiple cannon towers and an enemy destroyer is waiting for you on the other side. I need more meat, so I try to get all of my peasants and archers in. I lure 1 ogre out, and I realize that he really hates Carl. Every time I move Carl into melee range of the ogre, he turns to strike. If I move him out in time, the ogre will turn again, and then face Carl again if I bring him into range. Doing this rubber banding method, I managed to kill the ogre with him getting off minimal spanks. With 4 archers and 2 peasants, I go for it. The first cannons miss their mark, and the ships whiff their shots as well. Their asses ablaze, a fury in their hearts, 2 archers get nailed. The elves charge for Quel'Thelas, and make it. 2 whole archers and a peasant make it in, which means not only can I build a base, I can kill off the enemy peons before they hog too much gold. I need to be careful not to aggro the other guards in my base while it's building. I slowly build up, get enough archers to clear out my island and get ready for the invasion. I got challenged by a viewer to not make any destroyers, so I go full saving Private Legolas and land parties of elves onto the enemy islands, even finding a couple cheeky beach spots to shoot at their ships. It's always funny to me seeing an arrow sink a juggernaut. A few waves of brave souls meet their makers and I actually run out of gold without realizing it. But luckily I have enough just to eke out the victory. This was a fun one. That whole charge to bypass the enemy wall was really cool, and only elves were used. Level 8, Tyr's Hand. This is another example of why I love doing these runs. I wonder if I'm the only person to attempt this without killing the rebelling peasants, but I discovered a crazy quirk here. Typically, you use your knights to smash the attacking peasants and then rescue the base. But we are elves, and there are no elves here, so I need to get the peasants away from my allies. I bring a knight in and aggro the rebels, luring them away from the town. For some reason, they lose their taste for Carls and come after my Chad knight. I bring them to the orc base hoping they will stand idle after I die, but what I didn't expect was for the orcs to kill them. They fight each other. This is the only instance I can think of in this entire game where enemies, being 2 players with red boxes, actually fight each other. Normally in this game, even in vanilla StarCraft, in the skirmishes, all other players were enemies and all against you. Even if you put 2 players as rescue active, they would fight each other thinking that they were enemies. And even a rescue active, they would send attack waves to your base, but they wouldn't attack because you're technically their teammate. You couldn't have more than 2 teams in this game, you and the enemies. But the code in this level makes peasants a 3rd faction. I wonder why they didn't use this feature more. Having a free-for-all mission could be fun, or one where Alterac and the orcs were fighting each other and you had to come in and clean up both the mess. So, we discovered something I've never thought to try in all my years. So the enemies are silenced. What next? Standard macro mission, just mass rangers and take the fight to the enemy. That will be the pattern in this game. Most starts are the tricky bits, but once you have a base and an economy, it usually just involves throwing waves of elves at the enemy. Level 9, Battle at Darrowmere. Easy mission. Even got challenged to beat it in under 2 minutes. Just launch your transports to Uther, using destroyers as a foil, and bring them back through into the end. No need for elves at all, actually, but I use my ships to help my chances. Level 10, The Prisoners. Finally, I can Cortez these stupid footmen and most of the traders. You only need 4 to win, I think. From here, just build up your navy and get ready to land. I decided to try and attack Blue. His attacks are a pain, and I would like to get his gold mine. This proves harder than I thought though. Blue has a lot of cannon towers and actually pumps ships out quite frequently, so I need to remake my navy a few times. Blue also has a Death Knight, and death coils are so annoying against archers. I can lose entire control groups to a couple of Death Knights. A couple of tries, and I finally break through and secure the base. From here, take Red's base and do the old snake through. Since destroyers cannot reach most of the towers, I bring a peasant in the transport, and when he lands, I make him do some repairs. Then bring the prisoners back, touch the circle of power, and clear. Level 11, Betrayal and Destruction of Alterac. This is another cool one. You start with 8 archers, but no peasants. We need to rescue them from prison in the north. My Deathless run I managed to win without rescuing the prisoners, but I need to now. The prison is heavily guarded by cannon towers and ballistas, knights, footmen, and elves. The 2 biggest threat to archers being ballistas and cannon towers. There is a clear path through the forest you can take to reach the right of the prison unharassed. The ballista is ready though, and I even walked too close to the city's cannon tower. Their range seems random in this game due to the relationship between the grid system and the units being bigger than a single grid. If I hug the tight right, I only need to kill 1 cannon tower and 1 ballista. Easier said than done. I have level 1 archers, remember, so these guys do awful damage and they are made of paper mache. This will take some luck and some micro. It takes a few resets, but I managed to pick off the ballista with my full force. Unfortunately, there's only a couple places that my archers can range the tower without getting nuked by the other one, so I slowly break the walls up top and allow passage, and do some in and outs with my archer. While one shoots, I try to bring in another to draw aggro. The cannon tower low rolls a few of their shots and it whiffs a couple as I move in. With 3 archers left, one of which that has 1 health and another 10, I finally blow up the tower. I safely shoot the walls to make a path. Once the walls are down, I make my move. I just need 1 peasant out. I run in, rescue the prisoners, and bail. With one dead Carl and the Elves staying behind to ensure their safety, I can finally macro up. I wall in a couple entrances and build up my bowmen. It is actually quite straightforward from here on. A couple of enemy attack waves are kinda scary, but I dummy the Alterac traders. Another tricky start, but once you get a base set up, it becomes pretty easy. Level 12, the Battle of Crestfall. Not much to talk about in this level either. Just macro properly and secure your expansions. I decided to get a little bloodthirsty and land on their island and kill their whole base. Normally you just need to destroy their shipyards, but I go the extra mile for you guys. 13. Assault on Black Rock Spire. The only tricky part of this level is to make sure my knights don't attack anyone at the start. I just keep them moving and even get the enemy to hit themselves with catapults. Then we get into the level proper. This level is a bit tough because the enemy landing parties, they get bloodlust here, and if you thought ogres fucked elves, then just imagine them with double or triple damage. One blood ogre can wipe out a whole control group if the targeting AI has a stroke, which is why I need to target properly. With 2 or 3 control groups, I make sure each control group focuses one ogre or priority target at a time. That way, I can sometimes get good kills in a few seconds and move on, sparing a lot of dead elves. I use some destroyers here to help with the dragons and ships, and expand accordingly. Orange goes down easy enough. Red is a pain because they have a lot of dudes and death knights. They just nuke up to 3 to 4 elves per death coil, and it just slows me down so much. Eventually, just overwhelm them with arrows and prepare for pain. 14. The Great Portal. So, this level was a pain in the ass deathless, and it is even more so with elves only. So, I start with 2 usable elf ships and a whopping 6 archers. So, I need to get through 3 cannon towers, 2 catapults, and a shitload of blood ogres. And the problem is, while I'm fucking around on the beachhead, the dragons are prowling. And the dead awaken. This was shit. I tried luring shots with transports, using peasants to soak shots, but the enemy cannon towers just cover each other off perfectly, and just have the perfect targeting AI. They just snipe so hard, and there's no cheeky place to cheese the enemy. I try to run straight through too, but the ogres just fucked me up. I decided to try something to help. The speed option. I realize I am too old and slow to micro well, so I slow down the game using the plus-minus keys to help me make my move. I figure out if I can build certain buildings in key places, I can make a perfect wall to avoid cannon fire and the ogres. This ogre up here is a big problem and causes me some grief. On one attempt, I actually pull it off, fully walled. Archers inside to shoot the ogres, and I can finally play the game. Until a death knight comes and wrecks me. And man, I friggin' hate dragons. I decided to bend my original rules here and allow other units to be used as meat shields. All the enemies here prioritize knights, ballista, and footmen before archers, so if I dance with my humans, the elves can shoot away unhindered. I might even be able to get some lucky cannon shots on the enemy ogres too. An hour and a half in and many attempts later, I actually managed to crack the defenses, with enough meat to help with the rest of the blood ogres in the area. I have enough archers to help with dragon spam. I build as low as I can to not aggro the Black Death Knights either. They come in every now and then. Once my base is established, I realized I cannot fund enough production with the low amount of gold I have while being harassed by pickles. I cave in and build my first tower. 1 tower to help with dragons. If not for this tower, my peasants just get constantly harassed on this long road to the second gold mine, and rebuilding archers and peasants constantly just costs too much money and time. So the base is somewhat secure and I can actually start making archers. I build up and kill black, but now I gotta deal with a new situation. Getting my archers to the portal. I start a little navy, but then I realize I don't have any oil, or a reliable source. Black has 2 patches claimed and both are guarded, so I have no ways of killing these destroyer escorts. I can't make demo squads to open up the cliffs either, so I gotta do some World War II convoy tactics here. In the top right of the map is an unclaimed oil patch, so I need to wade through submarine-infested waters, dodging airstrikes from dragons to get enough oil to proceed. I build a derrick and make some manual drilling trips. After a few trips, I build a transport and bring some archers and a peasant to the island close to the patch. I set up a small fort here with barracks and a refinery to solve my oil crisis. I then start making landings against White's base to finally silence the fucking dragon wank stains. There is not much sense in waiting them out. White has a ridiculous gold mine that lasts literal hours. Once I knock White out, I finally have a route to the end. I build another transport, micro some death coils, and then destroy the portal with my Elves. The cutscene is not accurate here. Not an elf in sight. For shame. Level 1. Again, Alaria's Journey. Okay, on to the expansion levels. I can say one thing. Thank God for Alaria. Alaria doesn't have the Elven tag, as she's not called Elven Alaria. But she shares the model and is an elf in the lore. So if it looks like an elf, quacks like an elf, I count her. This level is actually a lot trickier than it looks. Without melee support, there is a lot that can go wrong. I need to snipe these catapults in particular, but even melee units can kill Alaria pretty quickly. She is a boss, but she still is just flesh and bone. Just bring Alaria into melee range with catapults and they can't do anything. I guess this becomes a stealth mission with weaving through trees and cliffs to avoid enemy patrols. Alaria is going to be carrying a lot of this mission on her back. We rescue the peasants to the north, but need to harvest one tree in order to buy transport. The only lumber mill is guarded by ogres and a juggernaut. But all I need is one peasant to get into the mill. I force march them in, and one dies, but one hero makes it in. I get a transport to rescue Alaria's boyfriend, Tyralion. He is a paladin and starts with heal, which according to my rules means I can heal with him, which ends up being really helpful. I ignore this transport. I've never seen it do anything anyways, and I'm pretty sure it's just there as flavor for the map. Another threat is Death Knights. Unlike most RTS games, all spells work on heroes, which means mages can polymorph your heroes, and Death Knights can death coil your heroes. I learned this the hard way. Look at the goddamn range on this death coil. Yet when I cast it, it fails half the time, or I need to be sniffing their ass before it procs. Kill the Death Knight. Okay. Danath is going to stay at home in his cottage for now. He's earned his retirement. We have all we need to win. Alaria, Friendzone Terry, and Carl the Peasant. Alaria outranges towers, so just pick off the skellies and blow up the towers. I completely forgot, but destroying buildings aggroes all the units in the map, and I get swarmed by the remaining enemies on the island. Major panic stations. No problem, I just need to get right back here and fall across the river onto the other side, but Well, what do we have here? The transport I mocked and thought was nothing but window dressing actually is active and is smart? It actually picks up a bunch of dudes and brings them to Alaria's side of the island? I panic here and fall back to the other beach. There's a Death Knight too, but I can bait out coils and retreat inside the ship. Major MLG mode. I snipe across the river and finally clear a path. A catapult even gets one last laugh and almost nukes Alaria. Holy fuck, that was close. This was another cool interaction I've never seen before. I had no idea the enemy would not only full charge, but also micro its transport. That bastard is getting sunk from now on. I put the theory to the test here too. You don't actually need your heroes, just 3 red units to win. So, Carl the Peasant is posing as Danath. 2. The Battle for Nethergard. This level isn't too bad. The hardest part is the very start, as usual. The fortress we leave to its fate, but the Red War Song sends 3 ogres right off the bat to attack my starting force, in particular, Danath. Or Carl and Danath's armor, since we left him at his cottage in the last level. 3 ogres is a lot to deal with just archers, so I bring the archers back to this corner and wall them in with human meat. Then I do a dance to soak up punches while the archers shoot away. Danath don't get no swings in today, so the rules are still being followed. Once these ogres die, it's not too bad a level. We sneak around the trees and start a base. I make a long building wall to keep red out and build a few towers. We will be dealing with yellow pickles a lot here too, so I gotta get archer production up. Also, sometimes the melee units take a swing, but as I'm microing their movement, they actually don't do any damage. You can tell because you don't hear the ting sound of them striking. So it might look like they're hitting units, but trust me. Once I have a couple squads of archers, I head out and nail red. Black decides red's gold mine looks enticing, so starts harvesting here, so I blow it up and park some elves to intercept an infinite conga line of peons to their deaths. I then sneak around and kill yellow from behind. With them out of the picture, it's a simple matter of destroying black piece by piece. 3. Once more unto the breach. This mission looks scary at a glance. Terry is going to sit down here and just hang out. Just start building up the enemy attacks frequently and yay, where you going? Wow. It's like this is being controlled by a human player and they beeline their troops to Terry, who gets a kill. Reset. You start with a cramped base, but there's an expansion northwest. I secure this quick because there's an altar of storms here that I want to make sure that red doesn't have access to. We don't have a lot of time before red starts landing troops, and purple spams dragons and orange is a prickly one. I need to kill him quick and to secure his gold mine too. I managed to take out OJ simple enough, but the landing parties get a little scary, so I need to spread out my patrols. Once I get established, I start destroyer production. The enemy has a lot of subs and ships, so I make flying machines to spot. Once the seas are clear, I need to put a dent in purple. I land a peasant and make a couple barracks and start pounding against the enemy forces, which specifically counters archers. Cannon towers, catapults, and death knights. Oh my! I finally get an opening and crack the base and destroy the fortress. Then I land on the portal island, clear it out, and get Terry on the circle of power. 4. Beyond the dark portal. This mission is a jumpstart. Your forces get attacked immediately, so I slow down the game, restart, and micro my footmen back so they don't get any swings in. I do the meat dance, and archers pick off the enemies. I now need to get to white and clear them out. Luckily, they don't have a big defense. The good thing about elves only is that killing off my own men frees up a lot of supplies. I don't need to invest in too many farms right away. After this, I need to rush red before he gets too strong. He builds a lot of towers, but level 7 rangers are actually pretty quick at killing them. Once red goes down, I can relax. I have all the gold in the world, so I just need to slowly pick off black piece by piece, and then finish the castle to win. 5. Upon the shadowed seas. What is usually a super easy start is actually a little tough. Just meat dance and kill the tower and green should fall. A viewer challenged me to beat orange in less than 10 minutes, so as a big brave man, I head in. A thing casual players probably don't think about is avoiding obstacles altogether. Why sit and fight these cannon towers when you can just run past them? Towers cannot move, so once you leave them at the gate, you have free reign. So that's what I do. I sprint past the towers with ballistas soaking the shots and disable orange's base from the inside. Challenge complete. I clean up the rest after. Now the whole continent is mine. Yellow has some nasty landing parties, but when I'm built up enough, I just invade their island and wipe them out. Kill purple's expansion and wood production on the left island, and then slowly pick away with my own destroyers and landing elves. Level 5 destroyers are actually pretty solid units after all, as long as they're in range. 6. The Fall of Auchindoun. This one had me puzzled too. I need to destroy a base to get a base. I thought about knocking green out, but they actually have some really annoying tower placements and a lot of catapult support. Not healthy for my archers. So I go for red, as I normally do. They have 2 cannon towers out front, so I did what I did last time and just run in. Once I'm in, I start building up. I try to destroy the cannon towers a little too early and get countered by a green landing party and die. Restart. Boom. Base is secured, tower's gone, and I build my own in place. I figured out that green only has 1 transport ferrying troops across, so if I kill that, I kill their invasions. I get some destroyers up, kill their transport, and destroy their foundry. They can't make any more transports if they don't have a foundry. With that, we can turn our attention to the main objective of the game, destroy orange. Using my navy, I wipe out OJ's navy and their cannon tower defenses, and land some archers. Easy cleanup. Once orange is dead, just make my way for the exit with Terry and Carl disguised as Danath. Level 7. Deathwing. Deathwing is not too different than playing it casually, actually. You can't build any military units besides destroyers anyways. I slow the speed and move my sub before he can attack the destroyer. Sink my own sub and bring in the heroes. Khadgar's gonna take a nap for this level, and the Paladin squad will be nice for Illyria's health. Wait for 13 black dragons to come and get killed. Black only has money for 13, so once he is bankrupt, make the move. Land Illyria on this island, and I get some pot shots off on white ships. Land her on Red's continent and slowly lure and pick away until you get to this undead bastion. There's actually quite a lot of skellies here and some cannon towers, so I actually get almost overwhelmed here. We rescue Kurdran, but wait, Kurdran ain't no elf. He's a naked dwarf. He takes it easy. I always found it funny that he's imprisoned, even though he's clearly airborne. It's like he's playing cops and robbers and is really dedicated to the honor system and just won't leave. I promise I won't fly away. Now it's time to lure Deathwing into my fleet of elven ships. This is a standard strategy anyways, but it's really handy here. Without Khadgar or Kurdran, Deathwing might be tricky. Getting Deathwing to engage is a bit finicky. He has a really specific leash range, and for a while he just flees just as my ships fire, and they always miss. I move my ships a little bit to the northwest, and he fights. The ships kick his ass, so it's an easy clap. But now, we fail. We need to destroy Deathwing's lair, and no archer or ship can reach. It looks like there are paths up to the house, but alas. Kurdran is the only character capable of ending this for us. So, legally, no. We can't use just elves to beat the game. But come on, this is barely bending the rules. Level 8, the Coast of Bones. The last big Navy mission. Tricky one, Deathless, but overall the strategy is quite similar. You start with a tiny force and are expected to attack white and claim their base. I instead feel brave and try to take purple out before he has a chance to build up. When using all units, this is totally possible, but elves only, it's a little tougher. I run past his cannon tower, and this isn't going to work. Purple goes hard into building extra towers and constantly trains units, so I just can't slow him down. No cheese for this orc. So, I go for the empty gold mine next to white. I wall in as best I can and move in to rush white once I get enough archers. White falls easy enough, but yellow's landing parties are starting. Once I secure the island, I start destroyer production. Yellow seems to calm down after I raid this shipyard on the outer island. I honestly think that knocking this out somehow disheartens them and stops their production. That or they ran out of wood, and I did not save and load the game here. Upgraded Desis in number actually crush the yellow fleet and even pick off some key cannon towers. Land the elves and kill the rest. By now, purple has started sending pickled squads, but they always go for this lumber mill and I kill them no problem. Then I land some workers on purple's island and start building a barracks. Throw the elves into the fray and eventually he falls. Level 9, the Heart of Evil. I'll tell ya, I was really nervous for this level. Dragons, aggressive bone chewers, and unlimited death knights laying waste to my forces had me really concerned. I decided to take the vanilla mine. It's in a good spot where I can almost completely wall in. The green orcs get funneled to this route and I can keep them at bay. The death knights soon follow, but they actually focus on my barracks here, which is quite tanky. I also engage them as best as I can when they show up. Once I get enough elves, I rush green. His attacks are annoying as shit and I want his gold. I actually kill him quite quick and then sweep over white and crush him real easily. Once he is gone, I hit the war song red in the northeast. He has a solid defense force, but it's slow to rebuild him. Once he is dead, no more dragons. I move and wipe out black's resources to the west and then make my way to the sanctum. I get hammered by ogre mages and death coils and waves of elves fall before him. I build a barracks fort just outside his base and just keep pumping and pumping elves until I out-macro black and wipe him out. Terran Gorfiend also gets in some cheeky kills before I take him out. Once the sanctum is destroyed, the ending procs. This went way better than expected. 10. The Siege of Vanguard. The big one again. This one starts fast, so I slow the game speed and evac my humans before they get an attack off and kill them. We start in a solid castle with a bunch of towers, so it should keep me safe for a bit. I tried to mass migrate and evac the base like I did in Deathless, but figured without my heroes killing purple would actually be kind of annoying. And a viewer challenged me to beat white and green in under 20 minutes, so I macro. I waste time building a shipyard due to my indecision, but the attack waves start coming. Green has a constant attack stream, so I want to take him out first. I build a bunch of elves and bring Ilaria and slowly pick away at him. White is coming in pretty hard and are actually crafty and running past a lot of my towers just to get to the juicy innards. With green crippled, purple starts flying in, and I don't know what pattern I got, but purple sent 3 dragons at a time at me almost every attack, so I had my work cut out for me. White has death knights and bloodlust, so it'll be tough. I decide to bypass his front gate and find a rear path into his base. In here, I have free reign to harass his economy and kill his production. Once this all goes down, it's just cleanup. 26 minutes in, so not quite 20, but still solid time for one of the hardest missions using only Elves. Purple proves to be a bit of a pain. Lots of cannon towers, but everything goes down easy enough. This level was easy and...
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!
Wow! What the fuck? Ninja Catapult comes in and one-shots Alaria. Jesus fucking Christ! Looks like we gotta go again! Restart and repeat. I almost lost Alaria again here, but boom. Purple is dead, and the siege is over. 11. Dance of the Laughing Skull. So, we have a situation here. Elves only, but this level only has one elf, Alaria. This level, we are supposed to rescue an orc base and use their tech tree to win. Last I checked, trolls are not elves. Technically in the lore, they are descendants of ancient corrupted elves, but they are green in this game, so it's a no-go. So when I played Deathless, I was able to beat this mission with my starting commando force. Pretty handily too, but now I'm expected to win with Alaria. And only Alaria. Luckily, I get Friend Zone Terry and 2 paladins for heals, otherwise I don't think this would be possible. This is going to take some finesse and a lot of time. So, the big threats here, cannon towers and catapults. So, let's get to it. I waddle back and forth as Alaria hopelessly shoots this tower, but the enemy is really quick on their repairs. I struggle to out-DPS the repairs, but after what seems like 20 minutes of dancing, I finally kill the tower. I move my squad down behind these trees and set this farm on fire. Now, we wait. The enemy peons will continually come and I will snipe them with Alaria while picking off any grunts he makes. I try to take this tower out too, but Purple's just ready enough until he runs out of money. You can tell because they will stop repairs. This means Purple is done. Kill his last peon, and he is essentially dead. Now, dance with Terry as Alaria kills the last few ogres and towers, and Purple is officially gone. Now that Purple is as good as dead, it's time to hit green. I hit the wrong grunt and a whole can of whoop-ass comes rampaging down and actually overwhelms me. RIP! Round 2. I'm a lot more careful in luring enemies out when sniping. Green has a lot of catapults, and as we know, they can spell our doom. I do the same trick here and set fire to this lumber mill and watch the train of peons climb over the corpses of their fellow workers to get to the mill. I do this until he is making one peon at a time. I shoot down his great hall, lure and snipe the last few enemies, cutting it real fucking close, and there we have it. Both enemies disabled using only Alaria, with her boyfriend's abs for support. Talk about a power couple. Destroy the rest of the buildings, and we are done. Alaria is pretty good, I think. 12. The Bitter Taste of Victory. The Big Bad Boss level. And it actually is very easy. Shockingly so with regards to final levels in this campaign. The Tides of Darkness final mission was a fucking nightmare. I slow the speed and pull my melee units back and peasants back with them, and kill them off. I use the peasants I retreat to build farms in front of my wall to funnel enemies and prevent tower damage. The orcs can only come in this northern entrance, and when they clump up, the cannon towers absolutely smash them. So green is dead, and I need to kill white. And fast. I learned in the Deathless run that if I don't open the cliffs to my heroes, red sits tight and leaves me be. I build up some archers and try to rush white. It goes okay. They have a really shitty leash range and constantly pulls my archers out of position. I actually fail my first attack, but move in with a second to kill him. He has a shit ton of peons and they scuttle around so quick my archers barely have time to choose targets. I wall in the gold mine off with my archers and I pick off his last peons. Good timing too, because my gold mine is empty. I move in and wall in my peasants and mine away. Black is starting to attack, and his dragons, while annoying, aren't really a huge threat. I build up 3 control groups of archers and move in. First wave destroys Black's defenses and actually makes a dent in destroying most of his towers. Reinforcements come in and finish Black off. Now it's time for Red. Red has a big army and huge production. I attack a little too early and piss him off. Now Red is on. He actually sneaks in and wipes out all of my peasants, so I wall off the entrance and put a couple archers here for defense. I was cutting it real close with the gold here too. It takes some floods of beautiful haired boys, but I finally crack his shell and get inside and set his base ablaze. With this, it's time to rescue the boys. We build a shipyard and transport, a tactic I discovered during my Deathless run, and fetch Khadgar. Only he can destroy the portal. The portal is neutral technically, so I don't count it as him killing an enemy. While I wait for the end, I send all my living elves, and even make a destroyer for representation and start an elf party. The chat and I wondered how fast this many archers could kill a gold mine. Oh yes, you can kill gold mines in this game, and Warcraft 1 by the way. It's completely ridiculous and not feasible in any way, but I decided to test it out. Gold mines have 25,500 health and 20 armor, and holy shit. Elves are actually fucking this gold mine up. Like, I know it's a lot of elves, but Jesus, they are pretty wild. I thought it could be fun to get the gold from the mine if you destroy it. Stupid idea, but like when it comes to a versus match, who is actually going to be running around killing mines? Could be a crazy risk versus reward system. 70k directly deposited into your bank account. So, hang out until Khadgar finally kills the portal and watch the Elfless victory cinematic. So, yes, kind of, you can beat Warcraft 2 using only elven units. With human bodies. Thanks for watching. I might try trolls next someday, but I still have nightmares of new Stormwind. This was a fun challenge. Challenging, but not too hard to stress me out, but cool enough to discover some neat strategy and exploits. Very little to no save and loads, apart from Kurdran killing Deathwing's lair, and maybe a stray hit from a footman here or there on accident. I managed to beat it without bending the rules too much. Feel free to join my Discord and hang out with the crew. And happy holidays. Thanks for watching.